want to start out just by saying thank you. This week has been an incredible week to just kind of sit back and watch the church be the church. And there are so many of you out there that I would like to personally thank, and in time I'll get there. But it was awesome to see. I think Wednesday was probably one of our busiest days here in the church, aside from a Sunday when we've got everything going on. We had quilters downstairs that were filling up the fellowship hall and quilting, and they do this every Sunday. I don't know if most of you realize this. It's been around a lot longer than I have, obviously, but the quilters are here weekly, and their ministry to others is awesome. And I love seeing the quilts go out the doors, and they hand them off to people that are in need. Right now I'm hearing rumors that they're trying to get them to children that are without beds and blankets and that kind of thing. And so what an incredible ministry they have. And so the quilters were here on Wednesday, and then we had people coming in, more people coming in. We had people replacing tabletops for us on Wednesday. And so there's tabletops going all over different places and screw guns going, and Daryl Will's downstairs pulling apart doors and fixing stuff, and meetings are coming in, so we've got extra people coming in for that. And it was a busy, busy place here on Wednesday, and it was wonderful just to kind of sit back and watch and see the church be the church. And then again on Thursday, just so many people coming in to honor and celebrate the life of Dan, and to watch everyone come in and to help and to serve in different ways, and some of you just to be here to honor his life and to celebrate that. And it was awesome. It was absolutely awesome to see the church in that way. And then I showed up at a couple graduation parties. We celebrated the graduates last week, and both of them ended up having their graduate parties this week, and so being there and seeing so many of the church family come and to celebrate that time with them, incredible. And I thank you guys. I'm blessed to be able to be a part of a church that looks out for each other and honestly has just this family mentality that we're here to lift each other up, and it's wonderful. I love it. I absolutely do. My family, Liberty and I specifically, talk about it all the time, about how blessed we've been here in our transition here, and what God is doing here and how this church specifically is trying to further His kingdom. We have so many blessings in our life, and I'm sure that it doesn't just happen here at church. It doesn't just happen at our church functions, but I know that you could think throughout your lives and think about the blessings that God is providing for you. Sometimes it's the blessings of watching your kids grow up and to be able to celebrate the birthdays or the graduations or the little victories that they bring home from school. Sometimes it's being able to celebrate the victories on the ball fields, or maybe it's in a music in a choir concert or something like that, where they're beaming with this glowing excitement because of what they've accomplished. And some of us are able to just look forward to new job possibilities and the blessings that God is making for us, and the doors that He's opening or the doors that He's closing, and how exciting it is to move forward and to discover where God's got us. And many of us are able to see these blessings, and I would hope that you spend time reflecting on those and to see those. With summer vacation here, I think about some of the memories that I've had with my own family, and I see, with Facebook and everything, you see everybody else's memories happening, and it's awesome to see our families going out and creating these memories. And God has blessed us in so many different ways, and so many ways that we can get excited about. And sometimes those blessings become maybe not so much a blessing to us anymore, or maybe not something that we're so thankful to God anymore, but it almost becomes, this is what I've deserved because I've worked so hard. And our lives don't become an opportunity to be able to serve in different ways, and our lives don't become an opportunity for us to reach people with God's message in different ways, because we're so busy with the things we need to get done, for working harder so that we can enjoy life more. And we start to confuse what God wants for us, the joy that he wants to give us, and the rest and the peace that he wants to give us. We start to get that confused by just working harder so that we can enjoy life better, right? And today, I just kind of want to take a little bit of time to step back and refocus about who it was that Jesus came. When he came to earth, who he is, and what that meant for us. And why we should be excited about that, and why that Jesus ends up and ultimately becomes Superman for us. And so today is all about refocusing. Even though there are so many great things going on, we need to refocus and get things right. It's about prioritizing where we're going to put our life into, and what we're going to share with others about the things that are happening for us. So this morning we're going to camp out in Hebrews chapter 2. So get your Bibles out, and we're going to read through a little bit of Hebrews chapter 2 and see what this author has to share with us about this Jesus who we get to celebrate. So I'm going to start in the second half of verse 6 there, and it reflects back to Psalm chapter 8. But it says this, it says, "What is man that you are mindful of him, the son of man that you care for him? You made him a little lower than the angels, and you crowned him with glory and honor, and put everything under his feet." And to be real honest, when I read that, I think of Jesus. But when I go back and I consider where this is being quoted from, and David's looking up at the stars, and he's seeing how great and awesome God is. And he says, wait a minute. God, you are so incredible, and yet you still consider us. You still have a mind for us. You still want us to know that you care for us. That even though we are lower than angels, even though that we are a little bit less than them, you still want us to have a relationship with you. And so I'm reminded, as I put that back into the perspective of the Hebrew author here, that this is us that he's talking about. That we were on God's mind, and that we are lower than angels, but God didn't want us to just stay in that spot, but that he wanted us to crown us with glory and with honor, and to put everything under our feet. And when you go back to read in Hebrews, and what the author has been arguing so far is that Christ is superior to all. And so we are battling this idea that Jesus was human, okay? And we're going to get to that in a little bit. And the Jews saw all the humanity that Jesus was. In fact, he came from a family of carpenters. He was born in Bethlehem, and we know that he was just a man. And so the Jews are arguing, they're having this hard time that this Jesus could possibly be a Messiah. In fact, he did just die on a cross. But the Hebrew writer is putting forth this argument that Jesus is superior than that. So he's bringing us to this time when he wants us to be able to relate to who Jesus was. As for God, his creation, he created us to be. And when you think back to creation, it says that he created everything and then gave it to Adam, and he said, I want you to go and to fill the earth and to subdue it. I want you to have full control over it. Everything in earth is going to be under your submission, and yet in that time, Adam sins, right? And something changes. He's booted from the garden, and what God had originally intended for him and for the rest of mankind couldn't be, because sin had entered the world. And we continue in that. We continue in that we couldn't have that full glory. We couldn't have that full submission of the earth, just like Christ has at his throne, because of the sin that entered our lives. And that becomes important for why Jesus needed to become man and later go back up and take some full glory of the earth. It says that in putting everything under him, God left nothing that is not subject to him. Yet at present, we do not see everything subject to him. And I want to just stop there for a little bit. And I want to talk about what it is that everything is. Because there's something in this world that we don't see. We can't see it. It's this idea of angels and demons. It's this idea that there's something out there in creation beyond the things that we can touch. And you know, one of the things that I love about God is how complex he is. Because we are still discovering how things are made, how things work. And for us, the awe and the idea that we can do certain things or discover certain things are what drives some people's lives, right? Our thirst for wanting to know where the end of the universe is. Where do the stars end? Where do the planets end? How can we get there? And yet, God is so complex that there are things that are even right here in the room that we don't understand. One of my favorites is Louis Giglione brings up this idea that started this study on our chromosomes. And so they start getting into the cells and all this stuff, and right in the middle of this chromosome that gives us life is a chromosome that is the shape of a cross. And how creative and how neat for God to create in such a way that when we look at such a small part of who we are, there's Christ. We can continue to discover new things, and I don't think we'll ever get to the end of what God has created. I think there will always be new things for us to look at and to understand. How incredible is that? How awesome. And yet God says that everything is under submission. Angels and demons is something that we can't see, and yet it's very real. Oh, when we read throughout the Bible, we see all the different stories where angels came into play. And it's easy for us to sit back to read the Bible and think, yeah, this is good stories, this is nice. But to go out into our world and think about angels being among us, ministering to us. You know, in some countries it's very real. Now I can remember being down in Honduras and I was preaching, and as hard of a time it is to preach here and keep my words straight, being translated was even more difficult for me because I had to think one sentence at a time or a certain number of words and then let him translate and then think, okay, where was I? And not get lost in his translation. But I had the opportunity to preach while I was in Honduras, and while I was preaching, a guy came in off the street, and it's interesting how the church is. The building literally is kind of like a garage, like I would think like a mechanic's garage, and the doors to it are the big roll-up gate doors, and so they roll those up, and so you've got a street coming by, and cars are flying by, and buses, and you just got everybody's honking. You got people walking by, and it's very open. It's interesting to kind of get past that. You know, sometimes we have the train that every once in a while I catch in my ear, but it was like if all those windows were open and that train rolled by, everybody would be like, oh, what's going on? And that's how it is for me out there. But with that being said, this guy comes in off the street, and I didn't really react to it. He walked in from the back and he sat down, and I continued to preach. And